people need to understand who the enemy is. Back in the early days of crypto, of Bitcoin, the enemy was pretty clear. It was Bitcoin versus the fiat financial system and the banks and the governments. And, that caused a lot of camaraderie within the Bitcoin community. As you started getting other coins building out, some of which were very different than Bitcoin, some of which were very similar, some of which were forks of Bitcoin. And basically it became this branching technology with lots of different coins and communities. Some portion of those people started looking at those other coins and communities as the enemy. And that's been really unfortunate to see. I don't know how to correct that. I mean, actually, I do know how to correct that. The way that people become open to other coins and communities is by buying some of that coin and holding it. This is just kind of the magic thing that changes someone's mind. If someone's a no coiner and they don't have anything, and they're super skeptical about Bitcoin, you can try to spend hours talking to them about all the virtues of this new system, or you can give them like $10 of Bitcoin. And if that Bitcoin goes up to $11, they will suddenly be totally open-minded to everything that Bitcoin has to offer. And that is more powerful than any kind of logical argument that you can make to them. I've noticed this back from the early days of trying to advocate for this technology. It opens someone's mind when they have a financial stake in the thing. So to any maximalist or to anyone who hates all other coins, do a test, own a little bit of that other coin, give it a chance, follow it, open your mind a little bit. That doesn't mean that every coin should be treated equally. It doesn't mean that every project is going to succeed. Most of these will fail. But if you want to be open-minded, own a little bit of that thing, and you'll find that you start seeing the arguments differently. You'll give a little more weight to the positive things and a little less weight to the negative. I wish people would see these things as not mutually exclusive.
Totally.
I don't think it is a coincidence that Bitcoin's biggest rise, biggest bubble, and biggest value appreciation also coincided with Ethereum's biggest rise and biggest bubble and biggest value appreciation. These don't cannibalize each other. They are complementary. There are things that Ethereum can do that Bitcoin cannot currently. There are things that Bitcoin Cash does better than Bitcoin currently. And that doesn't mean that one's better than the other. These have different optimizations. These are technical systems that have different optimizations, different features. And some of them will find niches. Some of them will find very large niches. And many of them will be complementary to each other. And so you don't need to choose one and pledge your life to that thing. You can just recognize that this whole ecosystem is lots of interesting technologies, many of which will fail, many of which will succeed. And it's just enjoyable to be along for that ride and to be able to see this happening in real time.
Very well said. Yeah. Anyone who knows how this is going to play out is lying, right? There's so many unknown variables that have to be accounted for. And I don't want any of these cryptos to fail, minus maybe the one coins, because that's a different thing.
Yes, there are certainly some true scams out there, and those deserve to be called out.
Yeah. And I won't say the SHIT, I won't pronounce at least, the SHIT coins, because I just feel like the term is just becoming almost legitimate, which is crazy to me. But anyway, I understand that, BTC, hopefully it succeeds. If BTC falls and crashes, at least right now, that's going to bring the whole cryptocurrency space down. If it happens this month, Shapeshift is going to have an awful 2020 if, BTC falls. There's no way BTC just disappears and then, everything's Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash just take its place. That seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I think a good analogy is that Bitcoin is the trunk of the tree, and you have all these other branches that are growing out of it. And some of those branches will kind of die, or maybe they're growing in the wrong way, or many of them are more important than others. You wouldn't want to see the trunk fail, and you also shouldn't go around chopping all the branches off. It is an ecosystem. It is an organism in and of itself. And to just see it more cohesively. I wish I could help people see that, but it's often very hard to do.
Yeah. And now here's a question for you, just your honest take on this. I remember it was kind of interesting, and that Shapeshift obviously has really talented devs. They tried to order pizza on the Lightning Network, and it was something where you ordered 22 and they thought it was 26. I just remember seeing that. I was like, wow, the Lightning Network still has a long way to go. Is this something that you think is going to, let's say, fulfill its original vision?
I don't know. I mean, it's the same way I look at most of these projects. There's lots of uncertainty. And, Lightning Network has some really amazing attributes to it. And it also has some problematic attributes. Maybe some of those can be solved. Maybe some of those are problems in certain use cases and not in others. But I don't have any blanket opinion on whether it will win or succeed, because I don't think these are mutually exclusive situations. I think there's a lot of promise in that technology. I also don't think it's crazy that Bitcoin Cash has large blocks and wants to handle scaling on the first layer. try both, and then maybe both will have a good place in the world. Then there's something like Ethereum that has a totally different framework, totally different structure, and it can do things that neither Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash can do. And then you have other coins that are, very similar to a Bitcoin, but they just have one other attribute, like the privacy coins, and that's super important too. One thing I've always found crazy is that a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists are also very privacy conscious, and rightly so. Bitcoin is the most surveilled chain of all. All the tools of surveillance on blockchain networks are built for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is highly traceable, highly tracked. There's a whole industry of tracing and tracking Bitcoin transactions. If you're a privacy advocate, you should be excited about other chains, just if for no other reason than they are less surveilled than Bitcoin is.